Yeah, we back. Yeah, man, I had to come back for a part 2, man. We got to talk about this Dr. Umar discussion, man. Now, as you know, yesterday I dropped a video entitled, take a look up on the screen. Dr. Umar Johnson explains why black women love criminals. Now, obviously, it goes without saying, some black women love criminals. The subsection of black women who love criminals. Obviously, everybody is not chasing after criminality. Everybody is not compatible with the streets. But for the women who are attracted to the streets, in my video yesterday, I gave a response to Dr. Umar because Dr. Umar said the reason why the women are chasing after the street dudes is because of these systemic reasons, these anthropological reasons, these historical reasons. And I pretty much knocked all that down. I put it to the side and I said, no, brother, you're wrong. The reason why she's chasing after street dudes is because that's what gets her pussy wet. That's what she like. That's what she gets excited by. It is what it is. You can't change that. You can't change that. And Dr. Umar Johnson knows he can't change that. That's why his solution to the problem is other black men have to step up and clean up the mess that the criminal-minded black men created, because he knows the women are never going to stop chasing after the criminals. So his solution is just clean up the mess that the criminals made. He's never going to take them to task and say, why are you chasing after the criminals? Because he knows it's a problem that cannot be solved. They're always going to chase after them. It's always going to be a section of women that are going to be attracted to the criminal element. And it's not even something that is unique to black women, because the examples I gave yesterday, I talked about the street dudes down in Brazil. How come the street dudes down in Brazil, the women love them too? How come you look at the Italian mafia, the Nigerian mafia, you got the Indian mafia, you got the Irish mafia, you got the Albanian mafia, you got the Colombian cartels, the Mexican cartels. They all got women. They all got beautiful women inside their entourage. Why is that? Because there's always going to be a subsection of women that are attracted to criminality, that are attracted to men who live a lifestyle contrary to the law, and you're never going to change that. But anyways, we're going to jump back into the footage, man. We're going to break it down some more. Run the footage. I'm going to come back with my commentary. Let's go.
I only feel like we tell black men that we have to now deal with masculine women, women with children.
Why is she masculine? Because she's had to raise the kids alone. Not one woman,
so
brother, a whole community.
So you mean to tell me the only woman I can look forward in my life is a masculine woman that has kids by other men?
No.
That's what I have to look forward to?
But I'm telling you, mistakes made by black men systemically gave rise to the conditions that allowed her to be masculine and made her end up with a man that you consider to be less than what he should be. And I'm telling you, black men are responsible for her being masculine because we have not helped her raise them children. I am not.
Now, we got to take Dr. Umar to task real quick. We got to take him to task real quick because in the very same conversation, he's giving us examples why women in the West are acting and talking and behaving the way they are. But then in the same conversation, he said women in the West would not be able to go to Africa and treat black men in different locations and talk to black men in different locations in the same way that they operate with black men in America, with black men in the West. He literally said that. I'm going to run the footage. I'm going to come back. Let's go.
So and what I also tell black women, if you're going to go get you an African man from the continent, you're going to have to understand that the way in which you talk to black men in America will not be tolerated over there.
Now, Dr. Umar Johnson said black women in the first world are behaving in a belligerent and a disrespectful manner because they are forced to grind and they are forced to step up and they are forced to do everything, blah, 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 right? But then he says that the women would not be able to go to Africa and treat the African man in the same exact way. Now, I got to ask him, is he saying that the women in Africa are living a higher quality of life than the women in the West? Are the women in Africa living a more comfortable life than the women in the West? Are we saying there are not single mothers in Africa? Are we saying the black women in Africa are not getting up at 5 a.m, going down to the market, getting the children ready for school, going hard, contributing to the family? Or is he saying the women in Africa aren't going through similar things as the women in the West? But he says somehow the men in Africa are not going to tolerate such bullshit. The men in Africa are not going to tolerate the disrespect. Now, why is that? When Dr. Umar said that, that showed me that the reason why he says that women in America are being masculine, it has nothing to do with any of the bullshit that he is saying. When Dr. Umar said that, it showed me that the women in America, the women in the West, they're simply acting the way they do because they simply choose to act the way they do. The same way I said they're chasing after a certain type of dude because they simply are attracted to that certain type of dude. It's not rocket science, man. It's not college level mathematics. We don't need an anthropological breakdown, bro. We don't need an anthropological breakdown. Because if Dr. Umar said that women become masculine due to living in harsh conditions, then how come African women is so beautiful and feminine? How is that? How come you can't go to Africa and talk to African man any type of way? Why is that? Tell me, Dr. Umar, why is that? It goes beyond that. It goes beyond what he's saying. It simply comes down to what black men tolerate in the West. It simply comes down to what black men tolerate in America. The African man, like Dr. Umar said himself, is simply not going to tolerate that. Regardless of the conditions that you may see him living in, he's not going to tolerate that. He could be living on a farm with goats and milking his goats. He's not going to tolerate a woman talking mess. That's why Dr. Umar said a woman can't go to Africa and talk to the African man any type of way, because it's not going down like that. It's not going to be tolerated. You see, in America, it's going to be tolerated. And because it's going to be tolerated, the women take free reign. You give an inch, they take a mile. That's how it goes. This is the real facts. Dr. Umar, these are the real facts. And you got to answer to the real facts. Anyways, let's get back into the footage.
Hold them all accountable because black men date outside their race more than every other man put together.
I said we.
Now, I love attacking this talking point because it's so easy to demolish. It's so easy to take apart. Honestly, when someone says black men date outside their race, blah, 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 you know what I ask them? I tell them, give me the government agency that is compiling data on who black men are dating. Who is keeping track of who black men are dating? For example, if I go to the bank, if I go to the gym, if I go to a party and I meet a beautiful woman and I start dating her, we start talking, we start having sex, we start doing our thing. What is the government agency that is taking down her ethnic background, her religious background, her cultural background? Give me the government agency that is compiling data, collecting data on who black men are dating, the racial background of who black men are dating. The only government agency, the only data that the government takes is when it comes to marriage, because you got to actually get that written down in law. You have real documents certifying your marriage. But when you're dealing with a chick, you smash a chick for 2-3 months, you date a chick for 6 months, a year. Who is keeping track of that data? Who is keeping track of that data? There is no government agency keeping track of who anybody is dating, especially in the modern day where everything is digital, you know, Instagram, dating apps, things like that. You meeting girls online, you meeting girls out in the streets. Nobody is keeping track of the race of the woman that you smashing. That is false bullshit. He's saying that because he knows the women in his base are gonna be, oh man, you know, black men, they running after the white women, but they don't got the data to back up what they're saying. Give me the government agency that is keeping track of who black men are dating. There is none. There is none, because it's impossible to keep track of who you are dating. If I go across the street to the chick across the street and I smash and we start dating for 6 months, who is gonna keep track of her race? And if we're being honest, if we're talking about hard data and hard facts, if you look at the Western Hemisphere, especially the former European colonies, we got whole entire countries where the vast majority of the citizens identify as mixed race. And all those citizens have a European male ancestor. They have a European male ancestor. They don't have an African male ancestor, a black male ancestor. All of those mixed race people have a European male ancestor. In fact, the majority of black men in the Western Hemisphere, you can trace your lineage back to a European male ancestor yourself, even if you black as hell, even if you dark skinned. So that right there shows you the black man is not the one dating outside his race more than everybody else. In fact, it's the European man. The European man been having a ball for the past 5-6 centuries. He been dating the entire rainbow. Every flavor in the rainbow, he been having a ball. So no, it's not the black man. It's the European white man. He's the one dating outside his race. It's not the black man. But I understand, Dr. Umar. I understand. But anybody who says that black men date outside their race the most, I'm gonna need you to come with the CDC certified data. I'm gonna need you to come with the government certified data to show me how you are able to keep track of who I am dating. For example, how do you keep track of who I am dating personally? That is personal, private information. How do you keep track of who black men are dating? You cannot do it. You cannot do it. I know it sounds cool to say, but if we're being honest, it's the European white man. The reason why so many of these countries in Latin America, the majority of the population identify as mixed race, the reason why the majority of black Americans are 25% white is not because black men date outside their race the most. We know who date outside their race the most. It's the European white man. It's the white boys from Europe. Now let's continue.
Look at all we could be doing better, man. Half the black boys in the 4th grade can't read. What black men doing about that systemically?
Not enough.
I know what I'm doing about it. I'm building a school for it, 2 of them. Mm-hmm. But systemically, as black men, what are we doing about that? Nothing. Black boys are the most unemployed teenager in America. What black men doing about that? See the Pookie and Ray Ray you kept talking about? Mm-hmm. We letting them raise right before our eyes, and then we want to criticize us for ending up with one when we should have made sure there were none.
Now, on this point, I halfway agree with Umar when he was talking about employment. Now, you know, on my channel, I always talk about providing jobs for your people. You know, I always talk about this shit. I mean, that comes second nature. Providing jobs for your people, getting vertically integrated in terms of business, circulating our dollar. I talk about that on my channel. But in terms of what he said about the young boys that can't read, Dr. Umar, we got to be honest. If the young boys in the 4th grade can't read, I'm willing to bet you that their father wasn't some scholar. I'm willing to bet you that. I'm willing to bet you that you don't have a father who is an intellectual and you're in the 4th grade and you can't read. I'm sorry to tell you, it doesn't go down like that. The reason why they can't read is because their mother chose a man who can't read. It is what it is. For example, I seen my pop's transcripts back in university, back in Long Island University. He had like a 98 average, all right? He had a 98 average. I was in the kindergarten already reading, all right? When it came to first, second grade, forget it. I was already writing paragraphs, man. I was blowing the other kids out the water, so much so that I was getting in trouble because I was sitting in class with nothing to do. And I say all that to say, if your father is an intellectual, he's not going to produce a son who can't even read. And then it goes back to the question, why are certain women choosing men who can't read? And it goes back to what I said earlier and in the video yesterday, because that man gets her pussy wet. I know it sounds crazy. How the hell you get your pussy wet for somebody who can't read? But it happens. It happens, bro. It happens. And a lot of the times, even the mama, she can barely read. That's why she chose a man who can't even read. It was two people who barely could read, and they made a kid who can't even read. It is what it is. It goes back to what I said about why certain women choose the guys in the streets, because those women are also in the streets. Those women are also compatible with the streets. So they chose a man in the streets because that's who they were comfortable with. That's who they desired. That's who they desired. That's who they preferred. Dr. Umar Johnson makes it seem like the women are out here looking for neurologists. They out here looking for anesthesiologists. They out here looking for pharmacists. No, bro. They're not even looking for that. They're not even looking for that. And even if they had that, that wouldn't even get their pussy wet. Keep it real. Keep it a stack. Even if they had that, that wouldn't even get their pussy wet, bro. It is what it is. Their pussy don't get wet for the black man at his medical residency program. I'm sorry. And I'm talking about a subsection of black women and women in general who are attracted to the criminal element. That's what they naturally desire. Just like a black man likes a fat ass, some women like a criminal motherfucker with an illegal gun and out here terrorizing the community. I'm sorry. And I think what would make this discussion more interesting is if we had like maybe some black police officers to add to the discussion so they could tell you about what they run into when they're on a job, the women they run into, the women they arrest. So you can get an idea that it's not just the black man that's criminal minded. The black man has his female counterpart as well. The criminal minded black man has his female counterpart. And his female counterpart is not compatible with the productive, upstanding black man. The criminal-minded black female needs a criminal-minded black male. You cannot put the criminal-minded black female with the young doctor, the young lawyer, the young businessman. No. The young businessman, the young lawyer, he needs a clean-cut, beautiful female that is not attracted to criminality. That is where his energy should be focused. The young, clean-cut brother on his way to greatness needs to be with a young, beautiful female on her way to greatness. And together, they need to build a family unit and have children and build up those children so they can also get on the path to greatness. And then through a bunch of families also doing the same thing, that's how you get a community. A community is a collection of families. The black man needs to get with a decent woman and create decent children. Because at the end of the day, you can only have influence over your immediate household. Like I said, I stopped talking to my sister for 5 years. Me and my father stopped talking to my older sister for 5 years because we did not approve of the man that she was dating. That's how you lay down consequences and repercussions and uphold standards. We didn't make excuses for why she did what she did. We didn't say, oh, it's the system, systemic racism, the crack era. No, we just said, you want to be with that weirdo bum ass nigga? All right, bet. You're not part of the family. Don't call my phone, motherfucker. Don't call my phone. Don't call my phone until that motherfucker is out the picture. But if it was Dr. Umar, he would have told me, nah, you got to take your sister into the fold. You got to forgive her. You got to understand systemic racism is the reason why she's with that bum ass nigga. No, I blocked her on everything, bro. I blocked her on everything. Did not talk to her for years until she came to her senses. And then she came back around and now she with a medical doctor. Now she with a black man that's a doctor. Now we talking business. Now we talking real shit. So if I cut off my own blood sister for making a stupid decision with her life, you can already understand my position when it comes to what Dr. Umar is saying. No, we're not doing that, bro. If somebody wants to crash out and do some dumbass shit, I'm not gonna come behind it and clean it up, man. I'm gonna remove myself from the situation. Because unlike most people, I actually give women the credit for the decisions they make. I don't infantilize women. I don't make it seem like women are helpless when it comes to the choices they make. I don't shame them for their desires. I don't shame them for their choices. But I do know one thing as a man, all choices come with repercussions. As long as you're able to take the repercussions, do whatever you want. It's a free country. Now, let's get back into it.
Listen, we all got choices. Just like if I choose to live a lifestyle,
you're dealing with individualism again. I can't deal with that.
But that's part of choices.
No, it's not. We have to deal with this systemically. He brought up a question earlier, and he said, "Did we make these problems on our own, or was there some systemics involved?" It was systemics.
Okay.
In 1970, they shut down the factories. They took out the industrial building jobs. 1980, dropped off the crack and the AIDS. 1990, the Bill Clinton crime bill. There's systemic factors at play. You totally divorce your analysis from any systemic factors at all. You ain't mentioned one. You keep talking about her and Pookie and Ray Ray with the kids. You ain't say shit about the systemics. That's exactly what white folks want you to do. That's what white folks want you to do.
I'm saying that
ignore
I have made
what I've done to your women and scapegoat her. Because that's what she's doing to you. She's ignoring what the system did to you. And she's going to scapegoat you. And we're both scapegoating each other.
Okay, that's fair.
Now, when it comes to this topic, I got respect for Dr. Umar, but we just going to have to agree to disagree because, like I said before, this is not something that is unique to black women, right? Like I said, you can look at every ethnic group, every culture, every continent on the planet. When you look at the criminal element, there are always going to be a section of women that's attracted to the criminal element. Whether it's the Chinese Pookie and Ray Ray, the Russian Pookie and Ray Ray, the Brazilian Pookie and Ray Ray, the Nigerian Pookie and Ray Ray, there's going to be a female version of that Pookie and Ray Ray who's attracted to that man. And there's nothing you could do about it. I'm not the type of guy that's going to shame the woman and tell her, you better go be with a doctor, because those women are simply not compatible with a doctor. If she's compatible with a drug trafficker, how you going to tell her go be with a damn doctor? Come on, bro. She's not attracted to that. And as someone, like I said, I'm very familiar with black women. I talk to black women. A lot of black women, they cannot be with somebody who they're not attracted to on a primal level. And if they're not attracted to the black men that you claim to be the good men, then there's nothing you could do about that. It's nothing you could do. She's gonna have sex with who she has sex with. She's gonna have kids with who she has kids with. And that's what it's gonna be. I don't shame them for that. I don't try to wag my finger at them. It is what it is, bro. In my opinion, I feel like every man has his counterpart. The intellectual black man has his counterpart, the intellectual black female, right? The athletic black man has his counterpart, the athletic black female. The criminal-minded black man has his counterpart, the criminal-minded black female. And it's the same thing for every race, every culture, every background, every nationality. Everybody has their counterpart, the yin and yang. And I really don't like the argument that Dr. Umar is trying to raise. What he is saying is, he's saying that due to systemic reasons, black women are forced to chase after criminal-minded black men because of things that are outside of their control. It's similar to how the divestors, isn't it funny how the divestors say the same exact thing? They say, we are forced to date outside our race because of these circumstances outside our control. And I tell the same thing to divestors as the same thing I tell the black women who love street dudes. No, the reason why you want to divest is because you just like white men. The reason why you want to divest is because you are simply attracted to white men. End of discussion. It's not because of no systemic reasons that are outside of your control that you are forced to date outside your race. No, you simply like white men. And I say the same thing to black women who love street dudes. No, if you could choose a doctor, you wouldn't choose a doctor. You love street dudes because that too gets your pussy wet. You simply love street dudes. End of discussion. And until we can just be real like that, then we'll never get anywhere. We just got to keep it real. Come through the door and just tell the truth, man. Walk in the door and just tell the truth. The reason why you with that man is because you love that man. End of discussion. It's your boy Neferkari Desaline back in the building. Yes, indeed. Cash App up on the screen, and I'm gone. Peace.